The human screamed as his teeth shattered on the alien warlord's skull, but the alien did not retaliate. Terrified, it scrambled away in shock and fear. This was a typical day for Sergeant Alex Rider. At 0300 hours, he had been summoned to an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. Representatives of a dozen alien races lined the Grand Chamber, eyeing the battle-scarred human warily. Alex could see the fear in their eyes, which disgusted him. He was used to it by now. "Human, we have no choice but to call upon you," spat the counselor, a spindly brawly named Zorith. His mandibles clicked with agitation. The Zorgans have stolen an ancient Brunel artifact, the Axiom of Dominion. It grants the wielder power to subjugate and enslave entire species. Murmurs of panic flitted through the alien crowd. The Zorgans were already infamous for their cruelty. The Zorgan fleet is on its way to the Axiom Forge, where they will use the artifact's power to build an unstoppable armada, Zorith continued gravely. Our own ships attempted to stop them, but the Axiom turned them against us, enthralling them to fight alongside the Zorgans. The chamber fell into grim silence. Finally, Zorith's gaze locked with Alex's. "We need someone immune to the Axiom's mind control, someone who can infiltrate the Zorgan mothership and destroy the artifact before they reach the forge." He took a shuddering breath. "We need a human. Alex, if you fail, the Zorgans will use the Axiom to conquer the galaxy. Humanity and all other races will be enslaved or exterminated." Alex cracked his knuckles. "And why should I help you? Your kind has done nothing but treat humanity like dirt since we joined your little galactic community." Zorith's face contorted in a grimace, but he pressed on. "Because, human, if the Zorgans succeed, they won't stop at enslaving the Brunel. They'll come for Earth next." Alex's jaw clenched. He knew the alien was right, as much as he hated to admit it. Zorith saw his opening and added, "You're the only one who can do this, Ryder. The Axiom's mind control powers don't work on humans, something about your chaotic, illogical brains." Alex narrowed his eyes. "So, you need us to clean up your mess." "Typical." He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed over his chest. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to tell the counselor to go himself. But he knew he couldn't turn his back on this, not with Earth at stake. Finally, he nodded. "All right, I'll do it. But I'm doing this for Earth, not for you." Zorith breathed a sigh of relief. "Your ship leaves in an hour. We've uploaded all the intelligence we have on the Zorgans to your NAV computer. Good luck, human." Alex stood, cracking his knuckles. Luck's got nothing to do with it. He strode out of the council chamber, his boots echoing on the polished floor. His mind was already racing, strategizing, preparing for the mission ahead. As he boarded his ship, a sleek black vessel bristling with advanced human weaponry, he couldn't help but chuckle at the irony. The same qualities that made the aliens look down on humans, their aggression, their unpredictability, their sheer stubborn refusal to quit, were now the galaxy's only hope. He settled into the pilot seat and began the pre-flight sequence. Switches flipped, lights blinked to life, and the engines hummed, the vibrations resonating through his body in a familiar and comforting sensation. Alex gripped the controls, his eyes fixed on the stars beyond the viewport. It was time to show the galaxy what humans were made of. The stars streaked past the viewport as Alex's ship tore through hyperspace. He flicked through the data on the Zorgans, his eyes scanning for any weakness in their defenses. The Galactic Council's intel painted a grim picture, but Alex was determined. The Zorgan were technological monstrosities, their ships bristling with weapons capable of shredding most of the galaxy's fleets. As Alex Rider studied the schematics of their mothership, his gaze snagged on a detail, a small, unguarded maintenance hatch on the underbelly of the ship. A smirk curled his lips. His vessel, a compact beast built for speed and stealth, was perfect for exploiting this vulnerability. As the Zorgan mothership loomed into view, a massive construct of gleaming metal and pulsing lights, Alex engaged his ship's cloak. The vessel shimmered and vanished, invisible to Zorgan scanners. He angled towards the hatch, weaving between the occasional patrol ship that buzzed past. His fingers were inches from the hatch's controls when alarms screamed to life, bathing the cockpit in red light. Alex snarled. The Zorgon had upgraded their scanning technology, rendering his cloak useless. A horde of Zorgon fighters swarmed towards him, their laser cannons spitting fire. Alex killed the cloak, rerouting the power to his shields and weapons. "All right, you want to fight?" he growled, hands flying over the controls. "Let's dance." The ship spun and whirled as Alex threaded it through a web of laser fire. His own cannons roared to life, missiles and energy beams ripping into the Zorgon formation. The void lit up with explosions as Zorgon ships shattered under the human onslaught. But for every ship Alex blasted to scrap, two more seemed to take its place. Alarms blared as his shields started to crumble. He was running out of options. His eyes locked onto the hatch. It was a crazy plan, a desperate gambit, but crazy and desperate were humanity's specialty. He wrenched the controls, aiming his ship straight at the hatch, and slammed the throttle to max. The Zorgon knew what he was trying to do, their attack intensifying as a storm of laser fire pounded against his failing shields. The ship bucked and shuddered, consoles sparking and flashing red. At the last second, just as his shields gave out, Alex reached the hatch. He didn't slow down. With a bone-jarring crash, the ship plowed into the hatch, its reinforced hull tearing through the metal like a battering ram. Alarms howled and metal shrieked as Alex's ship bullied its way inside, ripping a path into the heart of the Zorgon mothership. His ship careened into the hangar bay, metal screeching against metal as it skidded across the floor. Sparks flew, illuminating the cavernous space in a hellish glow. As the ship ground to a halt, alarms pierced the air. Zorgon soldiers swarmed into the hangar, their weapons trained on the smoking wreckage. The hatch blew open, clattering to the floor. Alex emerged, face streaked with blood and grime, armor dented and scorched, but eyes blazing with determination. His grip on his pulse rifle was unwavering. The Zorgon opened fire, a storm of laser bolts ripping towards him. Alex dove for cover, rolling behind a stack of supply crates. He returned fire, his shots precise and lethal. Zorgons fell, their dying screams echoing off the hangar walls. But more took their place, an unending tide of enemies. Alex fought his way through the ship, the narrow corridors a deadly gauntlet. Zorgon technology was everywhere, pulsing with malevolent energy. Automated turrets tracked his movements, force fields crackled to bar his path, but he pressed on, undaunted. Earth depended on him. Humanity depended on him. Failure was not an option. Finally, he reached the heart of the ship, the chamber housing the axiom of dominion. The artifact pulsed with an eerie, sickly light, the air around it thick with the stench of corruption. As Alex approached, a figure emerged from the shadows. The Zorgon leader, a towering monstrosity of tentacles and razor-sharp claws, wielding a crackling energy whip. "Foolish human," it hissed, its voice like the scrape of a blade on bone. "You think you can stop us? We are the Zorgons, the rightful rulers of this galaxy." Alex said nothing, letting his rifle speak for him. The Zorgon leader's whip lashed out, a searing line of energy. Alex dodged, the heat of it scorching his cheek. He fired, the pulse round slamming into the Zorgon's armored side. It roared in pain and rage, charging forward. The chamber shook with the force of their battle, debris raining down, consoles exploding in showers of sparks. The Zorgon whip was everywhere, a deadly blur. Alex felt it coil around his leg, searing through his armor. He gritted his teeth against the pain, fighting to stay standing. In a final desperate move, he launched himself at the Zorgon. They crashed to the ground in a tangle of limbs, rolling towards the axiom. With a roar of effort, Alex heaved the Zorgon leader up and slammed it into the artifact. The axiom shattered, a million shards of crystal flying outward. A blinding light filled the chamber, a shockwave of energy rippling across the ship. Zorgons clutched their heads, screaming as the axiom's control was broken. But the shockwave didn't stop there. It ripped through the ship's power core, destabilizing it. Alarms blared, the deck shuddering beneath Alex's feet. He ran, racing back to his ship as the mothership tore itself apart around him. Explosions bloomed, bulkheads collapsed. He barely made it, throwing himself into the cockpit as a wall of fire roared towards him. The ship blasted free, propelled forward by the force of the Zorgan mothership's explosion. Behind it, the massive vessel broke apart, consumed in a sun-bright conflagration. Alex slumped in his seat, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He'd done it. The Axiom was destroyed, and the Zorgan threat was ended. But as he limped back to the Galactic Council, he couldn't shake a sense of bittersweet victory. He had saved the galaxy, but at what cost? The Council greeted him with a mix of gratitude and fear. They thanked him for his service, but an undercurrent of unease permeated the chamber. The humans, once thought of as primitive and harmless, had shown their true potential, and it terrified the other races. As Alex turned to leave the council chamber, Zorith caught his arm. "You've shown us the power of humanity," the Brawley said, "and it's a frightening thing. You may have saved us today, but what about tomorrow? Will humanity be content to remain a part of this galactic community, or will you seek to dominate it?" Alex met his gaze, his voice hard as steel. "That's not for me to decide. But know this, we humans, we're not like you. We don't back down, and we don't forgive. Remember that the next time you think about crossing us." He pulled away, leaving Zorith to stare after him, shaken to the core. The balance of power had shifted. Humanity had shown its strength, and the galaxy would never be the same. This was why the aliens feared Earth, and why they always would. As Alex's ship limped back towards Earth, a gnawing unease took hold of him. The Council's praise had rung hollow, their eyes shadowed with fear even as they thanked him. Something wasn't right. His fears were confirmed as he approached Earth. Alien ships swarmed around the planet, raining destruction on the cities below. Alex's hands clenched on the controls, rage and horror surging through him. The Council had betrayed them. He slammed his fist on the console. "This is Sergeant Alex Ryder to Earth Defense Force. I'm inbound and ready to engage the enemy. What's our status?" Static crackled, then a strained, desperate voice broke through. "Sergeant Ryder, this is General Prescott. The situation is critical. Alien forces are overwhelming our defenses. We need all the help we can get." Alex gritted his teeth. "Understood, General. I'm on my way." He plunged into the fray, his ship weaving through the chaos of laser fire and exploding ships. The alien vessels were sleek and deadly, their weapons cutting through Earth's defenses like a hot knife through butter. But Alex wasn't about to let them take his home without a fight. He unleashed everything he had, missiles and laser cannons blazing. Alien ships burst into fireballs under his onslaught, but for every one he destroyed, a dozen more took its place. On the ground, the situation was even worse. Cities crumbled under relentless bombardment, skyscrapers toppling like dominoes. Screams filled the air, mingling with the thunder of explosions and the whine of alien weapons. Alex joined the ground forces, his battle-scarred armor a beacon of hope amidst the destruction. He fought like a man possessed, his rifle spitting death, his fists and feet crushing alien skulls. Around him, human soldiers rallied, their courage rekindled by his presence. But it wasn't enough. The alien technology was too advanced, their numbers too great. One by one, Earth's cities fell, her armies scattered. Millions perished, the planet's surface transformed into a charred, rubble-strewn wasteland. In the ruins of New York, Alex made his final stand amidst the crumbled remains of the Statue of Liberty. He faced down the advancing alien horde, a one-man army against an unstoppable tide. That's when he saw him, Zorith, the Brawley counselor, striding through the carnage, his face twisted in a sneer of triumph. "You," Alex roared, his voice raw with fury. "You did this. You betrayed us." Zorith laughed, the sound cold and cruel. "Betrayed you? No, human. We simply did what was necessary. Your kind is too dangerous, too unpredictable. You needed to be put in your place." Alex staggered to his feet, blood dripping from a dozen wounds. "Our place is among the stars, not under your boot. We'll never stop fighting, never stop resisting. You'll have to kill every last one of us." "So be it," Zorith hissed. He raised his weapon, a sleek alien rifle that hummed with deadly energy. With a bellow of rage, Alex charged. Laser bolts seared past him, scorching his armor, but he didn't falter. He slammed into Zorith, knocking the weapon from his hands, and the two tumbled to the ground in a tangle of limbs. They grappled among the rubble, fists and elbows flying, blood spattering the broken concrete around them. The city burned, the screams of the dying filling the air. In the end, it was Zorith who fell, his neck snapped by a final, desperate twist. But Alex was spent, his body broken, his life leaking out onto the war-torn streets. As darkness closed in, he could see the alien ships retreating, leaving behind a world in ruins. Earth had fallen, but even in defeat, Alex knew that humanity would endure. They would rise from the ashes, stronger and more determined than ever. And one day, they would make the galaxy tremble. This was the true strength of humanity, not their weapons or their ships, but their unbreakable spirit, their refusal to submit. It was why the aliens feared them, and why they always would. With a final, defiant smile, Alex closed his eyes. He had lost the battle, but the war was just beginning.